I use the standard recording software on my phone to record. I tend to use CapCut for editing. Sometimes I just end up doing it on the go. I will just do this for 5 minutes, just quickly edit a video. That's because I'm doing a lot of short form video. If we're talking unlimited budget, I would have like a television studio with a couple of cameras, full light setup and a couch and like a whiteboard. I'd have the works. I'd have the absolute works. It's so easy for me just to whack this on here and stand it in front of the window and for me to create a video. There's no prep at all. So what is that for you? How can you do that? Because if it's a pain to set up your camera, you won't do it. You won't get going.
Hello and welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. I'm Ian Anderson-Gray, and in this season, as always, we are going behind the scenes with my special guests to have a look at their studio setup when they're creating visual content, whether that's videos or podcasting isn't visual content, but you know what I mean. That's what we're talking about here. Well, I'm excited to bring in Janine Coombes, who is, well, she helps coach-shaped people earn more without slogging their guts out. She's a positioning, messaging, and pricing expert who also loves creating video content and regularly appears on stages such as Atomicon, Marketed Live, and You Are the Media. Welcome to the show, Janine.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. I love your bio. Coach-shaped people.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great. And yeah, I've as I said to you, I've emailed you or messaged you. I can't remember what I did. I love your website. I think your branding, your photography, it just shouts joy to me. So I think you've, and we want that, don't we? We want that in lives. So for people who don't know you, maybe give us a quick introduction about you, highlighting your background and how you got into creating videos. Because I've seen quite a lot of your videos online. They're great. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. So my background is corporate marketing. That's, eons ago now. But that's how I got into the marketing sphere. And I help, like you say, coach shape people. So they're coaches, consultants, mentors, a blend of those things. That's why I say coach shaped, because they're not necessarily pure coaches. So that is a more recent thing. So I was in corporate for many years, 10 or 11 years, left, had my kids, set up my own business eventually when I realized I did still want to do stuff with marketing. And over the years, I've gradually zoned in, okay, I prefer working with those people more. I prefer working with those people more. So that's how I've niched. Got a love-hate relationship with that word. How did I get into video creation? It was a long journey, actually. Didn't used to like myself on video or photography, but it felt like a natural thing to do. Other people were doing it. I could understand why it builds up that rapport really quickly. Once I got on camera, then I realized I really loved it and couldn't stop.
That's good. That's really cool to hear. I wonder whether we've got a similar kind of journey when it comes to this, because I have to say I was dragged into the video world and it wasn't really something I particularly wanted to do. But now I think I would say I loved it. I love it. So we're on a journey, and you're going to share a little bit more about your journey with this side of thing in the episode for next season. So you're going to be back for that, which I'm excited about. So tell us about your studio setup. And so this is what you use to record videos. I don't know whether you do podcasting, anything like that. What makes your studio setup unique?
Oh, what makes it unique? Probably how simple it is. Like, I'm glad you said that you want to showcase different levels of technicality and things like that, because mine is very, very low. What makes it unique, I suppose, it's my environment. I feel very comfortable in it. I wanted a background that was professional looking, but not too slick, I suppose. My branding is not aiming at perfection or anywhere near it. I'm sort of position myself more as a peer, which I think is quite unique in what I do. I think there's a lot of people who help coaches who want to appear almost infallible, whereas I am deliberately a bit more down to earth. But yeah, my setup is very, very simple. Do you want me to actually show some of the
Well,
bits that I use?
I'll go a little bit. Excuse me. I'll ask you a few more specific questions, but I wanted to come back to some of the things you said there, because I found that really interesting. That so many coaches are trying to kind of, how did you put it? You know, it's almost like that's what you're attaining. It's kind of the guru status, and you're more of a peer. And that really appeals to me as well, because that's kind of how I feel about it. But I've found sometimes that with my studio setup, because I really enjoy putting my studio together and making it look really professional, I've found sometimes that can almost put some people off. So it attracts some people, and I have got quite a few clients from the fact that my studio setup is reasonably professional. But sometimes it's intimidated people too, and it's getting that balance. So I know this isn't kind of what we're talking about today, but I just was really interested in what you think about that balance between, you mentioned perfectionism. As a recovering perfectionist, I know what that's like. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. I'd be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing or not, really. It's just, I suppose, with my marketing background, I help other people, or when I was working in corporate, I was paid to help the corporation with their marketing. They were like massive, millions and millions of pound turnover companies. And then when you go into the online entrepreneurial world, there's this underlying feeling, or quite overt feeling sometimes, like I won't pay somebody who hasn't been where I want to go. But that's not really what marketing's about. Marketing is about achieving the client's goals. And some of my clients earn a lot more than me. They're working with different target markets. Their offerings are different. So I suppose that's where I'm coming from. I just don't want to set myself up as some sort of 100% aspirational. You know, you want to be like me, pay the money, and you can be like me. It's just, that's not what I'm selling. That's not what
Yeah,
I'm selling.
that makes total sense. Yeah, and not that the other way of doing things is wrong. It's just
No, it
that
works for some people.
exactly. So let's dive into your studio. We might want to talk a little bit more about that when you're coming on to the next episode. But let's dive into your studio setup. And first question is your microphone. I believe, and I think a lot of people believe this too, that microphone, your audio, how you sound is probably the most important thing. In fact, I would say it is the most important thing, much more important than video. So tell us about your microphone and why you chose what you've got.
Now, I think it's really maybe over egging the pudding to call it a studio setup.
I know,
Um,
look, I'm going to interrupt you there, because I would say one of the things that you said is the environment that you're in that makes you, I don't know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it makes you happy. It's a creative space that you're in. And I would say it is a studio because you're creating content there. You're creating stuff there. It doesn't matter whether it's just, you might just have a computer. You might not even have that, although creating content without a computer might be, you could use your phone. Do you see what I mean? So I'm gonna pick you up on that. It is a studio setup.
okay. Well, my studio setup includes this beautiful mic, which is a blue snowball or a snowball blue. I don't know. And honestly, I didn't buy it. My husband did. And I've since heard that, you know, like a lot of people don't recommend the snowball, and I couldn't even tell you why. It works for me. I honestly don't use it that often with my video because I tend to just do my video on my camera. But if I'm recording tutorials or video courses or something like that, then I would use my snowball.
Yeah, and so do you say like you create a lot of content on your phone? Is that how you create stuff? Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, isn't it? Like people can be really snobbish about microphones. So we had, I guess last week has the the Blue Yeti, which is a similar kind of, it's from the same company, Blue. And I had a Blue Yeti, and people like, I remember going on some podcast and there were a few snooty comments saying, oh, he's got a Blue Yeti. And do you know what? I created so much content using my Blue Yeti. What's wrong with that? You know, and does this microphone I've got here? It's a what's it called again? Heil PR40. Like, okay, it's a good microphone, but is this making me more productive? Is this actually going to enable me to get more clients because of this microphone? No, it makes me feel happy, and that's good. So I think the Snowball is a really good, simple microphone. It just plugs in using USB, so you don't have to mess around with any kind of fancy equipment. So, and that's presumably that's what you think about with your studio. You don't want to spend too much time setting it up. You want to plug it in, and you're good to go. I assume that's kind of part of your thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I notice a discernible improvement when I'm using the mic. When I'm a podcast guest, usually they ask you to use a mic, so I've got one, and it is better, definitely. But it's not something I'm looking to replace anytime soon.
No. So it's like not number one on your kind of list of things to invest in. So let's think about cameras. And again, this is something that people can get really hung up on. They can think, oh, I need to spend hundreds of pounds on, I don't know, a top end camera, and I need to get a teleprompter and all this kind of stuff. But you don't need to. And I think so I actually haven't looked at the list deliberately that you put of all your gear. I think your camera looks great. Your visual looks great. You've got a great backdrop. Tell us about your camera.
This is my camera. Oh, it's my kids. It's my iPhone. And don't even ask me what generation it is. I don't know. um, yeah, it's a really good lens. I make sure I clean my lens, but that's about it. I have a really simple cheapo tripod, which I got from Amazon. And since having this, my lovely husband, because he's the tech fan, he bought me like this really nice gimbal which doubles as a tripod. I can't get my head around it. It's really, really nice. But I always go back to this because it's like a selfie stick and it's got a remote control on it, and it was about 15 quid from Amazon.
Awesome.
Okay.
And what's the camera you're using for this?
This is just my Mac camera inbuilt.
Cool. And you see that, and that's the thing. I always say, you don't need to buy like a separate camera. If you've got a decent Mac camera or PC camera, just use that. Awesome. So lighting. I have to say, I always struggle with lighting, and I think it kind of depends on when you record. So if you're recording during the day and you live in a place where there's light, I'm not sure there is much around where I live in Manchester, but have you thought much about lighting, or do you just find, I mean, your lighting looks great where you are. Do you find it's pretty consistent?
Yes, generally, I have a very nice window. It's a big window compared to the size of the room. And if I stand in that between the hours of 9 to 5, generally there's enough light, and it's really nice, and it does flood my features. However, if I were to invest some money, that would be what I'd be investing in, is some more lighting. In the winter, especially in this angle, it gets very, very dark, and I'm lit on one side and very dark on the other. For video calls and for any recording that I'm doing, I think it would be more versatile if I had a light. So that is the thing that is on my wish list.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that I've found always quite difficult to get right. I've learned a lot over the years, but I don't. Again, you don't have to. Some people will say you have to get a 3-point lighting system. You know, you need to get two in front of you, one behind, and all this kind of fancy stuff, and then the LED lighting behind and all this kind of stuff. And you just don't need to. So just something kind of basic for that is probably best. Let's move on to your computer. So I don't know about for you. I mean, you sounds like you're using your phone a lot for your content creation, whereas I probably use my computer more. So maybe we can talk about not just your computer, but also, well, you've mentioned it's an iPhone. We don't need to go into the specifics of that, but in terms of your computer and also like any software that you use to record stuff. So you could also include apps on your phone for this. What are the kind of go-to? First of all, computer. What kind of computer have you got? And then we'll talk about apps.
I've got a MacBook Pro.
Cool.
Do I have to say more?
You don't have to say any more. No, we don't need to go down the
I don't know
specifications.
anymore.
So that's okay. Like in terms of
I'm such a typical, I don't know what the word is, technophobe. I'm not a technophobe. I just I'm not a researcher. My
yeah,
husband, he buys the tech and then I get his cast offs.
yeah. No,
That's
that's
what
cool.
happens.
That's cool. It as long as it does the job. But in terms of like apps and software that you use to create your content, what's your go-to?
So I use the standard recording software on my phone to record. I tend to use CapCut for editing, which probably would be easier if I used it on laptop, but sometimes I just end up doing it on the go. Oh, I'll just do this for 5 minutes, just quickly edit a video. That's because I'm doing a lot of short form video. I think when I move over, I've got a plan to do more long form video. I will be editing that on my laptop. I did used to use iMovie a while ago, um, but then I had a break in video creation, and then CapCut came out, and it just seemed so easy.
So tell us a bit more about CapCut, because I did look at it years ago, but I've not looked at it recently. And I tend to kind of focus a lot more on long form, and then I repurpose that into short form. Sounds like you, and I know you're thinking about doing more long form, but I'm just interested, like, tell us a bit more about CapCut and your process for creating that short form video.
So it depends on the type of video I'm creating, but usually I'll have a script that I just, at least have a few pointers down. Um, Record in, I edit. I'm not afraid to cut things up and have jump cuts and things like that. And sometimes I intersperse with other videos. So sometimes some of my videos are comical in approach, and I'm talking to myself. So I'll have me as one person and me as another person. And CapCut makes it very easy just to, cut those bits up and swap them in so that you're talking to yourself. And it's almost sketch style. Um, yeah, there's not really much more of a process than that, really. At the moment, they're not, there's no intro, there's no formal outro, there's not an outro I use every time or anything like that. So it's quite a
Mm.
simplistic process.
But I think that's great. You see, I think it's so easy to overcomplicate these things. And, I'm not the greatest short form video fan, but I really love yours because they're really approachable. They're fun. You kind of, well, I don't know whether you intentionally do this, but you don't kind of like take yourself too seriously. You're kind of like, you're having fun with it, which is great. And I think sometimes we can spend too much time on these things. So, but using software like CapCut makes a big difference. So let's move on to one thing that I feel really strongly about is, and you've kind of alluded to already, which is about the space that you are in to create your content. And this is why I do think calling it a studio might seem like a little bit over the top, but I do think it is. It is this creative space. So how have you made this space that you're in like uniquely yours to foster your creativity, but also productivity?
Mm. I think the biggest thing is keeping the clutter down. A few years ago, I struggled with clutter and there would be piles of stuff everywhere, and it really does interrupt my flow. It annoys me. It eats away at my ability to create, I
Yeah.
suppose. Um, we moved here into this house about 3 years ago, and this is the fourth bedroom. So it was the first time I actually had a proper office of my own. And luckily, we had a few bits of furniture left over from my husband's office that he had, which made kitting it out quite easy. But like I chose a color that is vaguely similar to my brand color. This painting was painted by a friend of mine years ago, which just seemed to go. I've got my business books here, all my business books, so it just feels like a very purposeful space. And I make sure that there's a place for everything, so I make sure that I do tidy it regularly. I tend to put things away.
Mm. Yeah. It's funny. Like I'm like you. I would love to say that my office is clutter free, but it's not. But I've come to a point now when at least I know where things should go. There is a place for everything, and just a really clutter free or a space helps me be a lot more productive and creative. There's something about the clutter around that clutters my mind. I don't quite know why that is. So like if imagining like budget and space, you had kind of like unlimited space, you know what I mean? Unlimited budget, a bit more space. What would your ultimate setup be?
Well, if we're talking unlimited budget, I would have like a television studio with a couple of cameras and full light setup and a couch and like a whiteboard. I'd have the works. I'd have the absolute works. Can I
Love
have
it.
like staff as well, like a full
Yes,
staff of?
that does everything. But you know, going back to what we were saying at the beginning, would that make you less approachable? And this is what I
I
find.
don't care. I would just, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Forget everything I just said.
Yeah, exactly.
I want the works.
Let's go for it. Well, maybe we can make it happen.
Oh yes, please. I think to an extent it is how you present yourself on camera as well. Like some people just come off as unapproachable or austere. I don't know what the word is, but just a cut above or just a bit separate. I feel like I'd be able to breach that gap.
Yeah, and I think for me, I want to try and remove any obstacles for me creating content, because like my content creation journey has been, I don't know, it's been up and down. I'm sure that's been the case for you. And there are always these barriers. I could always think of doing something else other than what I do. And that's one reason why actually I embraced live video, because although it was very scary for me, you can't get out of it. If I've booked a slot with a guest or even on my own, but I've scheduled it in advance, I have to do it. And so I think for me, anything that I add, yes, okay, anything that adds to the professional quality of it, great, that's fine. Or that helps me stand out, great. But anything that helps me just create content easily, a bit more easily, and gets rid of any barriers, I think that's what I would like. So maybe hiring some staff, a producer, I don't know.
Yeah.
That might be nice. So final question before we get on to the quickfire round, which is for beginners. And obviously you work with a lot of clients who are presumably, some of them are maybe struggling with video and want to get started. You tell me, but like, what would be the one piece of equipment that you'd advise beginners to invest in right at the start?
I mean, the likelihood that they don't have a decent camera with a phone, camera on their phone is unlikely, but that would be my number one. I think it's less of an investment. It's more just the lighting. Like find a spot. Like something I didn't cover when I was talking about the setup is it's so easy for me just to whack this on here and stand it in front of the window and for me to create a video. There's no prep at all. So what is that for you? How can you do that? Because if it's a pain to set up your camera, you won't do it. You won't get going.
Love that. Great advice. You just need to get a lot of the problems, the hang-ups that we have are all in the head. It's not so much the tech. So we're up to the quick fire rounds. So like, I know you're looking forward to this because you have no idea what I'm going to ask you, but we've got 1 minute to answer these questions. Let's see how many you can answer. Hopefully the tech will work. So here we go. Right. So the first question, Janine, is green screen or natural background for your videos?
Natural.
Love it. I agree with you there. Okay, do you prefer a standing desk or a sitting desk?
Sitting.
Sitting down. Love it. Mac or PC? I think we know that. Yeah, that was a quick one. Okay, similar question. Sitting or standing?
Standing for video.
Standing for video. Awesome. Webcam or fancy camera?
Webcam.
Teleprompter. Do you need one? No. Okay. Microphone in or out of shot? Does it matter?
In.
Awesome. Okay, one big monitor, or do you have dual monitors?
Dual.
Two. Okay, ring lights. Are they a good thing or a bad thing? Does it matter?
Don't know. Good.
A stream deck, essential or optional?
Optional.
And background music, mood setter or distraction? Oh, 11. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well done. I'll have to check. There's a sweat dripping down you now after the stress of that. I think you did pretty well. Some of them you were a little bit unsure about, but that is good. Thank you, Janine. It's been awesome to have you on the show. We've known each other for quite a few years now, and it just feels like, why have we not done this before? But it's been great to have you on. So what are you working on next? What's the big grand plans, and how can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Oh, what am I working on next? I'm just in the process of launching another round of the Freedom Giver, which is my hybrid program, which helps coach shape people earn more without slogging the guts out. That is my main focus. I think another focus is I don't want to say it because then you're going to make me do it, but I really need to get back to my YouTube channel and actually do some long form content, and that gives me the willies.
You're going to do it. Well, why do you want to do it? Does it not bring you joy, or do you think you have to do it? I'm just interested. I'm starting to be a coach.
It feels like a hump to get over. I feel like once I'm going, I'll love it.
Yeah.
But there feels like quite a few moving parts, and where am I going to find time in my week? Like, there feels like no time. But I know once it starts going, it'll be fine.
I think often with these things, it's like the process. Once you've got the process in place and you've got everything and you know what you're doing, you just hit record and you're good to go. It's kind of like the only reason I do this show in this format now is because I have a whole process and I know exactly what I'm doing. I have questions, so I don't have to spend too much time. I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but I think it wasn't until I got all of that in place. So it sounds like that's probably what you need to do with yours as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna check up on you. What's the best? Where do you tend to hang out on the socials, and how can people connect with you online?
LinkedIn is my online home. Come and connect with me. That would be lovely. Or you can check out my beautiful website that Ian mentioned at janinecoombes.co.uk.
Do check that out. Well, thank you, Janine. I'm looking forward to having you back on the show to talk about confidence and communication. But it's been awesome to have you on. But we are out of time. My goodness, that went really quickly. Well, do check out the podcast website, iag.me/podcast. You can subscribe in all the various places. And also, this is on YouTube as well. So do spread the word. But until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of Confident Live Video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Make sure you subscribe at iag.me/podcast so you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video.
And until next time,
Toodaloo.